Paul Finebaum had to talk today, and usually when he talks, in my opinion, he has bad takes. So today he said Arch Manning is the best college football quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow. I will let the Georgia guys hit on this one first, then Gerald, we'll get our opinions off on this one.
Bo, you want to start?
Do I think he's the best college quarterback since Tim Tebow? That's a crazy thing to say about a kid who hasn't, started a full season yet. So I don't know if I would agree with Paul there, but I do agree with Paul that Arch Manning is immensely talented. I look forward to watching him really take the reins of this offense. I don't know if I'm ready to literally say he's Tim Tebow yet, but I'm pretty pumped to watch Arch Manning this year. It's been a long time coming. I feel like we've been waiting for this moment since he was in high school, and it's here now. So it'll be a fun thing to keep an eye on for sure from an outsider's perspective. Not a diehard Longhorn like yourselves, but yeah. I'm pro Arch Manning. I would say. I don't know if Matt agrees there, but.
Yeah, first of all, like going all the way back to Tebow, maybe in terms of like a media circus iconic guy, maybe he becomes that. But like, did Paul not see Cam Newton play or Joe Burrow? Like those guys, Lamar Jackson even? Like, I don't know.
I did see someone retort to Finebaum. They're like, Tim Tebow wasn't even the best quarterback in his own quarterback room.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
that's a whole other debate, but yeah.
Cam Newton's like the best player I've ever seen. And I'm a Georgia fan. I don't like Florida or Auburn, but Cam Newton was just incredible. But I don't know, like it's such lofty expectations. It's kind of interesting because Texas fans are probably the only other fans that understand what Georgia fans are going through in terms of the quarterback just got so much hate last year. Like I just look at Steve Sarkisian as one of the best offensive minds in all of college football. And I think Paul Finebaum even said that while criticizing him for not putting in Arch Manning against Ohio State. Like that was the other thing. It's like, well, what was Texas on the 1 yard line with 3 minutes left? Like down 7, like Caleb Downs makes an amazing play. And then whatever that the turnover and gets taken back for a touchdown. Like Texas was this close to winning it all, essentially, to getting to the national championship with Quinn Ewers. So it's just terrible revisionist history, in my opinion, to be like, oh, they put in Arch Manning, that team's going to win the national championship. And then I look at that on the same token. Quinn Ewers is a 7th round pick. Granted, I think he probably shouldn't have gone in the 7th round. Personally, I think he's just one of these guys that gets too much hate. But I mean, this guy's a 7th round pick, and the guy behind him is going to be the greatest player of all time. Like he sat for 2 years. Like Tim Tebow was basically a 3rd down running back as a freshman, and then actually started as a sophomore. Like this guy's been sitting the bench for 2 years and couldn't beat out someone who the NFL thought was a 7th rounder.
I'll let you go.
I mean, I think that's always the argument that comes up commonly. I think there's like one. I appreciate you like having a rational take about that national championship game, right? Texas was on the one, by the way, because there was a touchdown ball thrown into the end zone that was interfered with. So we'll just put that off to the side, right? There's a lot of revisionist history about that. But no, like I'll leave the national championship game aside. I'm still hurt by it, but no, there's like, if Arch Manning lives up to the billing, right, then yes, he might be one of the best that we've ever seen because perfect grade recruit coming out of high school, right? All of those things. And a lot of what we've seen on tape and what he's done in camps and what we're seeing and hearing out of the program itself indicate that, we may be getting close to what we think he is, right? But ultimately the kids started 2 games. So like how it's very cart before the horse. And Finebaum does his job perfectly, right? His job is to get ESPN clicks about the SEC, right? It is a clickbait. Yeah. He is the clickbait master, right? And he does his job well. Like he is good at it. That's why they pay him so handsomely to do it. It's absolutely just like a clickbait thing. Again, I'm pretty high on Arch Manning. I think also we need to like pump the brakes because he's going to have a pretty sketchy offensive line. I struggle with the Quinn Ewers of it all, because I think there's one, I think his medical evals were probably pretty nasty. I think nastier than we probably even have any indication for. So I think that might have something to do with why he fell so far. But ultimately, like if Arch was so good, why didn't he start over Quinn Ewers? Because no matter how good you are, you still have to learn the system. And him, regardless of how talented he is, was coming out of private school New Orleans football, right? So like having to adjust to the speed of the game and learn the process and system. Sark puts a lot on his quarterbacks to manage in the game, making calls at the line and making adjustments. A lot of Texas's big plays last year were actually because Quinn Ewers audibled into them. And so some of that, I think, is why Arch wasn't ready. Like the physical tools were probably ready, but did he have it? Did he have the knowledge of the offense and reading defenses at that level? That's probably the question that I think is still out there. But ultimately, back to the point, like I think Finebaum is just generating clicks for ESPN because that's his job, and more power to him.
I mean, he did it so well. This is our first topic tonight, so congratulations. Right? But yeah, that's the thing. I think it's generating clicks, and it sucks because you combine the Manning name with the 5-star prospect, and you get this behind a guy that really doesn't want the attention. Like in the interview with Marty, I forget his last name, Smith, I think it might be, from ESPN. He sits down. He's like, I want to earn the stuff I'm getting. I have yet to do that. I'm hoping one day I get there. Like, he knows he's getting all this pub because of his last name, and he doesn't really want it. I mean, the kid at one point, last time I checked, had 4 tweets on Twitter, and one of them was, I'm committed to the University of Texas in a Texas shirt, and that was it. That's how he committed. This guy doesn't want all this attention. He's never been like that. So I feel bad for him, 1.
Yeah.
2, he didn't start last year for this one play. Watch 4th and 13 versus Arizona State and the audible to get to that play and to check the protection. Arch Manning's not doing that. Quinn Ewers is. That's why Quinn Ewers was starting last year over Arch Manning. Talent-wise, Arch Manning is much more talented than Quinn Ewers. He just is. And then I agree. Quinn was not a 7th-round pick. Like, if his medical history aside, we're talking, I think, 3rd to 5th round, somewhere in between. That was my opinion of him. Like, let's be honest here. No one thought going into that draft, Dylan Gabriel was going to be drafted above Quinn Ewers. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
That's fair. And I don't think I'm not one of these that thinks just because he didn't beat out Ewers, that means he can't be good. Yeah. I just think most people, don't you think it kind of felt like the more popular opinion was that Ewers wasn't that good? Like, I felt like I was telling people like, dude, Ewers is actually good. But most people, for whatever reason, didn't kind of thought he sucked. And maybe it's because they just love the backup quarterback. And so, yeah, there you go. Both thought Quinn Ewers wasn't any good.
Yeah. So
I don't.
You can go.
All right. You go ahead, Matthew.
No, you're good.
I don't think Quinn Ewers was a bad player. And I always not to make it about Georgia, but I do go back to the Jake Fromm, Justin Fields situation where it's like, yes, you have one player who is clearly just way more physically talented than the other guy, but it's like Quinn Ewers was what? That was last year was his 5th year of college football. I mean, he's been around, and I really think the experience is really invaluable for a team like Texas who had championship aspirations. Like, for me, it never really seemed like a possibility that Arch Manning was going to start that early. Like, I always thought that Sarkisian always had this plan in place. Is like, he's going to come here, he's going to sit behind Ewers, and then when Ewers graduates, he's going to take the reins. So I don't know. I think that was 95% just media drumming up that there was ever a quarterback competition ever. I think the plan was pretty simple. So I'm with y'all there.
People forget Arch Manning was the 3rd-string quarterback his freshman year. Malik Murphy was the backup quarterback. And I said that going into the season that Malik Murphy was going to be the backup quarterback. And everyone's like, no, Arch has a chance to start. And you saw after the spring game, Steve Sarkisian squashed that. He's like, Quinn's our starter, and Arch may not even be the backup. And people are like, wait, what? What's going on here? It's like, dude, the guy is a freshman. Not many freshmen start right away, especially at the quarterback position. If people don't forget, Trevor Lawrence didn't even start right away at the quarterback position. Kelly Bryant did for, I believe, half that year before they actually brought in Trevor Lawrence.
I think they gave him the 4 games so that he could still transfer because he had that year.
Right.
Missouri,
yeah, that's what it was.
And one thing, it's a total side topic, but everyone forgets how good Jake Fromm was. The 1 year Justin Fields was there. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
2018.
We don't have to talk about it, but still salty about that one.
You talked about Sark's plan at the quarterback room, and it wasn't just Sark's plan. The thing that everybody forgets is Cooper Manning said that Arch was not going to start for at least a year, if not 2 years. That was part of the recruiting process. Was like, we're not sending him to a place where he has to start day one. We don't want him to be the guy who has to come in and save the program. That was part of the reason why they picked Texas, was because they knew that he was going to be able to sit for at least a year, if not 2 years. And you're right. Sark's plan is to go from 2 years of Quinn Ewers to 2 years of Arch Manning to probably 2 years of Dia Bell to then 2 years of whatever other, professional athletes. Yeah. They haven't offered him yet. Gunnar Rivers doesn't have the offer yet, but it might be Gunnar Rivers, right? Or whoever the heck else they get
Someone
on
named Rivers.
Right.
Yeah, one of his 12
got
kids.
13 chances, right, to get a quarterback in Texas of one of the Rivers kids. But no, Bo, you're right. Like, it was not part of the plan for Arch to start last year. And I think, honestly, with all the transfer portal rumors that hit early in the season, that was like, if they needed Arch to start, then maybe that's why he transfers, because they don't want him to have to play early, right? But ultimately, that was never on the table for him to be the guy at Texas last year.
Well, and just like on Finebaum and the media in general, the narrative has been pushed that Arch Manning's going to declare after this year and be the number one pick. Even if he's the number one pick, guys, I'm letting you know this right now, he will not declare for the NFL draft. This has already been set in stone. His family has talked about this. The coaches know this. Dia Bell actually said this on an interview on the Cover 3 podcast. He expects Arch Manning to be there next year. Like, Arch Manning will be 2 years at the University of Texas at least. Hell, Archie, in an interview in a bar like 3 or 4 months ago, got asked, and he says, I want him there for 3 years, and then I want him to get drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. That's what he wants. So the media just makes up, exactly. The media just makes up whatever narrative they want and then goes with it to get as many clicks as possible.
That would be really interesting if he tears it up next year and then goes back to school. That would start a lot of interesting conversations.
It's like, how much is if Texas is paying him however many million, you can still be worth it to go to school for another year.
He'll probably make more money going back to Texas than he would on his first year of a rookie contract.
It's possible. Carson Beck's making more this year than he would in the NFL.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, I mean, there's a good chance. I think my best guess, he's probably making anywhere from 4 to 8 million with the Red Bull, Viore, and all those deals. So, I mean, he could probably make, if he has a great year and comes back, he could probably make 10 million next year.
I love when I'm like scrolling Instagram and I see a new Arch Manning product.
It would just be a crazy rise to go from sitting 2 years to being a generational talent, to be like you're saying, like he thinks Tim Tebow is the best quarterback in the last 2 decades. I don't personally, but regardless of what he thinks that's the best quarterback we've seen in the last 2 decades is what he's saying. And it's like, I don't know, after not starting for 2 years, it's tough, because a lot of guys, maybe like a Deshaun Watson, a Trevor Lawrence, like you're talking about, they just, at some point, it's like, okay, we have to play this guy. Mm-hmm. And I personally think Justin Fields comes back to Georgia second year, something like that happens. It's like, okay, we have to get this guy in the game, and it's a legitimate competition, maybe when he knows the offense better. So for him to sit for 2 years, it's hard to see sit 2 years, and then all of a sudden you're the best player in college football. Like, we've seen a Mac Jones or something take over, like that, stuff like that has happened, but I don't know.
And that's the thing too. Like, Gerald and I are reasonable. I have him ranked 4th in the SEC and like 8 to 12 nationally. Gerald, what do you have him? Was it 3rd in the SEC?
Yeah, I think third in the SEC, 4th in the SEC. Like, the kid started 2 games. Like, we haven't seen enough from him against quality opponents to like rank him. And I honestly still feel like I have him too high. I think the wildest part about this conversation for me is that in an era where people are complaining about guys transferring too early and guys not wanting to wait their turn, we are like making a narrative about a kid not doing that, right? Is that we're making it out to be a negative that a kid came to a school where he could develop and sit and wait his turn and learn. Like, we are in an era where nobody does that anymore. And people, I'm included a lot of times, like, complain and lament that bygone era. And now we're making it an issue that Arch Manning did just that, where he came to school and he waited his turn and he was a good teammate. He held a clipboard for 2 years, right? He did all those things that they asked him to do, right? We're in an era where that doesn't happen, where you've got guys that are on their 4th and 5th schools because they couldn't find the right starting spot. And so, like, it's all backwards to me. And I'm old and I'm grumpy at times. So, like, well, I'll just leave it at that.